Imagine you're sitting in front of a prospect, or in fact any prospect, and you have the skill to answer 2 or 3 questions in a selected order that makes any prospect open up and become cheese into your hands, become melted cheese into your hands. Well, that is the skill that we're going to share today. My name is Dr. Rajat Sinha, medical doctor turned sales strategist. And if you've been following my channel, or if you're a seasoned salesperson, you will know that 99.9% of success in sales comes from sitting in front of the right prospect, asking the right questions, and getting the right answers. Now, definitely, this is not easy. In fact, it is easier said than done. How many different types of prospects are going to come to you? This is not under your control, but asking the right questions and making sure you get the right answers is definitely in your control. So this is the part where I'm going to be helping you to make that really, really easy and really get that control and really get that predictability into a sales call, where you know even before you're sitting down in front of a prospect how to get them to behave in a fashion which gets you the results you want. And the results you want may not always be money. It could just be the information. If you can figure out within 5 minutes that this is not the right kind of prospect, then at least you're not getting emotionally involved. And 99% of the reason why people fail in sales and entrepreneurship is because they lose emotional energy on their journey to the wealth. Okay, most people die in business not because they lose physical or financial reserves, they lose emotional reserves. That is the reason for people failing in business. Okay, now while we go through this video, I will be talking about what are the 2 different kinds of questions. There are many different questions you can ask during a sales call, but what are the 2 different types of questions, so you know not to ask the wrong kind of question at the wrong time. What are the 2 things that you need to establish during a sales call that is going to be the difference between success and failure in sales and in entrepreneurship? And finally, what are the 3 questions you're going to be asking during different phases of the sales call that's going to give you 100% control and predictability in a sales call? So let's get started. Okay, first of all, there are 2 different types of questions that you're going to be asking in a sales call. And the first type of question is called a probing question. A probing question. All right. The second type of questions is called flow questions. Flow questions are basically the architecture of a sales call. It's like the beam holding up a building. Similarly, flow questions are the questions you ask at different points in the sales call, where you're kind of starting to tighten the net. Okay, without any disrespect to you or your prospects, by tightening the net. What is a sales call? The sales call is basically, if you've seen your grandmom take lots of wheat in one of these handheld filters, they take a lot of wheat and then they keep bouncing the gehu so that the chaff gets removed from the actual gehu or something like that. Think of it like a sand clock. You put a lot of sand in and the sand slowly trickles down, and that is what you're essentially doing in a sales call. You're getting a lot of information in upfront, and then you're trickling down and staging the information so that the information, first of all, the prospect can also get to understand where they are in their own journey. 99% of prospects are confused where they are, and that is why they are unable to take a decision. Even if you can help them get that clarity, not by talking too much, but by asking the right questions, it'll help them get a sense of where they are in their own journey, and that'll help them to make a buying decision in your sales call. Because a confused mind will always say no. A confused prospect always says no. Okay, so what are these flow questions? Is as the sales call is flowing through in its duration. Let's say you have a 30-minute sales call. You're going to start with very open-ended sales questions, and then you're going to start throttling down to decision-taking questions. Okay, these questions are called flow questions. They happen at certain stages of the call where you're going to start throttling down and start closing the sales call or closing the net, with no disrespect meant to your prospects. Okay. The second type of questions are obviously probing questions. In section 2 of your sales call, you're going to be asking a lot of probing questions. These are the why, when, what, how, etc. I've talked about that in a separate video. But how to get a prospect to open up and then to divulge that information, how do you literally earn the right to ask the probing questions, is also a function of your flow questions. Okay. Now, before we go ahead and I talk to you about the 3 most important flow questions, I want to talk about what are the 2 things that are very, very necessary in a sales call. It's not about your product, features, benefits, type of prospect, etc. The 2 things that have to be established subliminally in a sales call is authority, which means by the end of the sales call, even at the beginning, the person did not realize that you are the authority. The way you ask these questions and the way you help them guide their own thought process should prove to them that you're the authority. This is called tactical authority. What is tactical authority? There is something called brand authority. If they've seen a bunch of your video content somewhere, seen you on a podcast, seen your landing page video, seen you winning awards, all of that is brand authority. You've done a lot of work in the industry, testimonials are there, awards are there, falan dimkana. That is all brand authority. Okay, it's great to get people into the door. It's great to get curiosity into the door, but it has almost zero effect on the actual sales conversion. In today's market, people don't buy from people just because they are the authority. They're going to buy if you establish tactical authority, which is during the sales call, if you're able to hit on the right buttons, and that's going to kind of subconsciously tell them that you're an authority. Okay, so the another role of these flow questions is it subconsciously builds tactical authority. All right, and the second thing is urgency. Some of these flow questions are urgency related, which I'm going to go into, and this is very, very important. The only two things that matter in a sales call is the authority and the urgency. In fact, even more than budget, authority and urgency matter. Tactical authority and the urgency. Okay, so with that, let's get into the different types of flow questions that if you ask in the order that I'm going to tell you, it's going to get you a totally different closing rate, probably double or triple your closing rate if you're able to use these in addition to the probing questions which I've covered in a different video. Just scroll up and just watch some of my other videos on the sales, on the tactical sales call. Okay, cool. Let's get started. The first type of question, the first type of flow question that you're going to be asking is, what can I do for you? Okay, that's the first question you ask when you open the call. Obviously, you're going to be asking them who they are, where they're from, what's their business, etc., etc. And the question that you want to get in the door as fast as possible is, hey man, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? Okay, now just watch the wording of this question. What can I do for you? It assumes that there is something specific that they are looking for. They may not be looking for something specific. They may just be tire kicking or something like that. They may be a problem unaware prospect. They may not know what they're looking for. But the moment you say, what can I do for you? It forces the prospect to think of something that you can do for them. And that itself saves you a lot of headache, because it's forcing the prospect to think. As long as you're forcing the prospect to think, the sale is on. Okay, the prospect is forcing you to think, then the sale is off. Okay, what can I do for you? The second thing that this question establishes is that you are going to be doing something for them. What can I do for you? They got to focus on the what. And do for you, I do for you. It subconsciously establishes that you're going to be doing something for them in return for money, of course. Okay, usually a lot of salespeople get, especially if you're a beginner, a lot of salespeople get derailed because the prospect says, okay, what do you got? Tell me. Kya hai aapke paas? Kya hai aapka? Just tell me. What is it that you do? Tell me. Okay, and that absolutely derails a lot of beginners. If you're a beginner, what can I do for you will absolutely get you in control. Okay, there is another version of the same question that I can give you. Okay, another version of the same question is, how can I help you? How can I help you? Okay, when you say how, it's a little more open-ended, but it subconsciously establishes that you are going to be helping them. They are the ones in need of help. So when you say, how can I help you? It subconsciously establishes that they're the ones in need for help and you're going to be giving that help. Okay, another version of the same question that you can test out is, what brings you here today? It's hidden behind my camera feed, so you can't see it, but I'm just going to just read it out. What brings you here today? Okay, again, it's a version of what can I do for you, plus what brings you here today has a semblance of urgency. Okay, if you're into a tribe building business, anything to do with money, anything to do with getting people health, anything to do get people love, relationships, self-improvement or whatever, then almost none of these needs are ever urgent needs. People want to make more money, but it's not an urgent need. People want to build six packs and get healthy, but it's not an urgent need. People want to get more love and relationship in their lives, but it's not an urgent need. So how do you build urgency? What brings you here today? What is it that brought you here today? Okay, now you don't need to focus on these words. You just need to say, hey man, what brings you here today? Okay, but the verbiage itself is going to have them focus on what is it that brought them here today. Okay, very, very important. Next question, question number 2 that you can get is, what's going on? So assuming that they've told you what the reason is, hey man, I want to build a six pack, I want to make $1 million, whatever it is. So you say, okay, what's going on in your life right now that has you looking for X, Y, and Z? Hey man, I need to free myself from some of the loans I have on me. I need to build a corpus for my children's education. I need to lose some weight. Whatever it is, none of this stuff is urgent. Okay, diabetes is not urgent. Okay, having not having great relations with your spouse is not urgent. These are important, but they are not urgent. So if they say, "Hey man, I would love to get become a better parent to my kids," so okay, it's a quadrant 3 goal, which is love, life, and relationships. Okay, so what is going on in your life right now, right now, that you're looking to become a better parent? You should have thought about it before becoming a pet, before becoming a parent at all, or you can think about it even after your kids are married and left the house. What's going on in your life right now that has you looking out for whatever goal you wanted? Hey, I want to lose some weight. I want to do something about my diabetes. What's going on in your life right now that has you looking for XYZ, whatever goal? Okay. Verbiage of the question, what's going on in your life right now that you came to me for this goal, whatever. Okay, right now. The focus is on the word right now. You don't need to say it, just the verbiage itself will do the job. What's going on in your life right now that you suddenly wanted to lose weight? And it's been going on for a while, but I thought, okay, what's going on in your life right now? And you got to press on that and get the answers. Remember, sales is about asking the right questions and getting the right answers. So you're going to sit on this till they give you the answer. There has to be something urgent. Nobody ever does anything unless it's in response to an emotion. Something has happened that has triggered it, and they're coming to you. You got to find it and sit on it. You're going to find that finger that hurts and sit on it. People only make a buying decision when they are hurting. If you cannot find out the hurting point, they are not going to make a buying decision. Very simple. All right. Cool. What's the next question? Next question is, assuming at some point in the call you're going to ask, assuming you found the right solution, when would you like to get started? Now, depending on how hot the lead is, you're going to ask this question at different points. Okay, if it's a very hot lead, you can ask this question within the first 5 minutes. Okay, it's a very hot lead. You can ask this question in the very first 5 minutes. Okay, if it's a warmish lead, you can ask this question in the first 20% of the call. If it's a cold lead, super cold, ice cold lead coming from a super cold source or something, which means if you're cold calling or something like that, then you can say, once they've told you the problem, you can say, assuming you found the right solution, when would you like to get started? Roughly at around the 40% mark of the call. Roughly at around 40% mark of the call. This question does not come later. It comes in the first half of the call, regardless of how cold the lead is. Why is that? Because you got to precede the urgency once more. So if you see, all of these 3 questions so far have urgency built into them. What brings you here today? What's going on in your life right now that's got you looking for X, Y, and Z? And assuming you found the right solution, when would you like to get started? All of these questions, 3 questions, have come before the 40% mark of the call. That means if your usual sales call is roughly about 30 minutes, then you're talking about 12-minute mark. The 12th minute mark, this question should be in, even if it's a very cold prospect. You're going to hit them with it. The hotter the prospect, the faster you can hit them with the question, because the faster you can get them pre-framing into making a buying decision. All right, very simple. Okay, next, I have a bonus. I promised you 3 questions. I have a bonus question for you. And this question is absolutely going to take the cake, because it's going to put you in a different league altogether. We call it the if I would you question. If I would you question. Okay, if you learn how to time this question right, this question has to be timed in the last 30% of the call. So in a 30-minute call, you're talking about 9 minutes left, and you're going to say, if I asked you to do something simple, would you do it, or when would you do it? Okay, so I say, if I asked you to meet me, they are in a free consultation with me. I have already asked them, assuming you find the right solution, when would you like to get started? They've told me all the problems, and then in the second half of the call, I've had all the probing questions sorted. Who, when, what, how, etc. has been taken out of the equation. Okay, now I know the budget, I know the pain, urgency has been established earlier. Now I'm going to start to close. Now this 4th question is not a probing question, it's not an opening question, it's a closing question. If I asked you to meet me for 1.5 hours in the first half of the day, sometime next week, which day of the week would that be? Okay. Now, what's going to happen is that before you go in for any kind of close, they need to take time apart to spend with you, right? If you're a real estate guy, real estate broker, they got to take time to visit some properties with you. If you're a fitness person, they got to sit down with you, probably show you what's in their fridge, probably some diet analysis or some exercise that you're going to tell them. If you're a make money guy, you got to sit down with them and show them the various ways that you have to make money. Very simple. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to assume that you're already working together. And you're going to say, if I asked you to meet me for 1 hour, 1.5 hours, if I asked you to meet me for 3 separate hours, 3 separate days next week, which 3 days would those be? Okay, if I asked you to meet me sometime the first half next week, which day would that be? Okay, so it's an if I would you question. If I asked you to do something simple, when would you be able to take time for it? And they have to commit a time. This is usually a time commitment. They'll say, okay, I can sit with you, say perfect. And then you go into the close, because this makes it easy for you to go into the close. They don't know that you already foreclosed or pre-closed them. All you got to do is at the end, you got to tell them the price and the offer, and this is a done deal. If you can time this last question, if I would you question, this is called the most important question in sales. The most important question in sales is, if I asked you, if I would you. All right. If I asked you to sit with me again for 1.5 hours, we'll solve out I've got all the information. It's all the problem. I can see it clearly. If I asked you to sit with me for 1.5 hours sometime next week, what day would that be? And they're going to say a day. They don't know there is a price attached, but they already told you that if it's found the right solution, they'd like to get started immediately. Now, all you got to do is get a commitment and then tell them the price and then tell them the offer. Done. It's sorted. Okay. So those were the 3 architected flow questions, which are literally, in fact, the 4 questions, which are like the beams, the pillars of your sales call. At what point in the sales call are you going to pitch these questions, and how you're going to open the sales call, and now whittle it down all the way to the if I would you question. And this is how you grab the net and just, tighten the net around the prospect. No disrespect meant to your prospect. Okay. I hope this was valuable. Please follow this channel and leave me a nice comment on what you would like me to address in your sales. Any kind of question, objection, any kind of problem you're facing, let me know, and I'd like to handle it in a way that you can manage it inside the tactical sales call with no requirement for extra branding or anything like that. Okay. That's the goal of tactical sales. Nothing that happens out of the frame is relevant. Everything that happens inside of the frame is relevant. Hope this is valuable. Look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye-bye.